Welcome back. You're still watching your most comprehensive and authoritative political show in the country. We are still coming to you from our studios in Abelemkpe 48 Swanika Street here in Accra. We are live on Facebook at Pan-African Television. We are also live on YouTube at Pan-African Television. This is the newspaper review segment on the program. Very soon, I'll be taking you through the topics we are going to be discussing for the day and then subsequently introduce my guest for this morning. But don't forget that you can send in your views, comments, contributions, suggestions, questions, and whatnot on our social media pages. We'll make a time and read all those out for you. You can as well connect with us via our WhatsApp text line on 0260846539, 0260846539. You can share the Facebook Live post as many times as you can so that other people get the opportunity to watch this morning's edition of Good Morning Africa. But let me quickly take you through the topics we are going to be discussing on the show this morning. The first on the list is the final State of the Nation address as delivered by President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Also, we'll be looking at his swearing in that will be coming on, God willing, tomorrow. Here in the country, we don't commiserate with armed robbers. Joe Wise justifies Akufo-Addo's silence on the killings in a just ended disputed election. And finally, we'll be looking at Supreme Court's decision to, quash the injunction against Amewu. Those are the issues we are looking at. I've been joined in the studio by Dr. Abubakar Mazouk, lecturer with the University of Applied Management, and also in the studio is Dr. Kweku Mensah Mauto, who is also a lecturer with the University of Professional Studies here in Accra. The regular host of this program is also on the show, Kwame Owusu Danso. Yes, Kwame Owusu Danso, the indefatigable Kwame Owusu Danso, champion KOD. Good morning. All right, Doc, so I'll start with you on the final State of the Nation address. I'm talking about Dr. Mazouk. On the final State of the Nation address delivered by President Akufo-Addo yesterday. Your take on that?
Good morning to the cherished viewers of ours, and thanks for the opportunity. Special good morning to Yana, Miaulana, and Yona. And then special good morning to the people of Nato. Yes, the President yesterday spoke in fulfillment of his constitutional mandate. He touched on a number of thematic areas relevant to the development of this country. Definitely, we can see his speech from two areas, two perspectives, as Kwame would quote me. The speech was made up of nationalistic, or if you want, patriotic and political or partisan contents. So if we look at the two areas, nationalistic stroke patriotic or political stroke partisan, you will agree with me that yes, he spoke as a leader, the head of state of the Republic of Ghana, and as a leader of a governing political party. So those perspectives are expected in any form of political communication or national address by a politician. He mentioned areas such as agriculture, Pan-Africanism, tourism, the Gbon issue, security, and the economy. Part of the political content that I see should have been balanced with national content deals with the statistics that he offered. If you consider those statistics, you would agree with me that he seemed to be glorifying his own achievements to the detriment of the achievement of the previous government. But as an independent communicator, as an independent analyst, I expected him to have given us two sets of statistics. Statistics dealing with his own achievements and statistics dealing with the achievement or the failure of the previous government. He did not do that. He was very selective. When it came to his own achievement, He was able to offer us statistics to believe that he did well. When it came to the accusation of the previous government of malfeasance in many areas of governance, he never gave us the statistics. Sorry, it was rather the other way.
Yes.
Malfeasance, he gave us the statistics, what he inherited about the economy. He gave us the statistics. But what he has done in terms of statistical presentation, he couldn't give us.
That wasn't presented.
Yeah, that was presented. So it left us in a situation of inability to do actual statistical analysis, scientific analysis, to establish the veracity of his claims. But that, as I said, is understandable. It's part of political communication, and it is part of what I call post-election propaganda. He should not be alone. I think all political parties, all leaders of politics, all leaders of parties, given the opportunity, would do same. But it is also our responsibility to point out those areas of defects in political communication, so that at the end of the day, Ghanaians will be given the opportunity to analyze holistic data in relation to governance. On the whole, he did well. He was able to bring issues that will be given to the Parliament to analyze. I think what he did was not an end to itself. It was just a means to an end. He presented the nation's address, and it is up to Parliament to analyze it very well and then see the way forward.
In entirety, as an independent communicator or analyst, do you think that what the president presented yesterday is a true reflection of the state or the country as it stands now?
Of course, part, as I said, the patriotic aspect could be true independent, could be true reflection of the nation. But the partisan content definitely cannot be the true reflection of the nation. And it depends on where one stands from. Definitely, I mean, members of his political party and loyalists who are even in other political parties and opportunists relying on him for survival will not see anything wrong with what he did. And then his opponents may also not see anything good about what he did. But definitely, as you've rightly mentioned me, as an independent communicator, as an independent analyst, I know that part of the content was just for political propaganda, and other part was actually the true, was actually the reflection of what is happening in our situation. So what I wanted him to do was to give us the statistics and holistic statistics, so that we'll be able to do proper analysis of it. But once he spoke as a politician first, as a patriot, as a leader, definitely you should expect him to have partisan or political content in what is supposed to be nationalistic.
Exactly, because I feel that we can subject some of the things or some of his achievements he touted yesterday to proper scrutiny. For instance, the exchange rate, and then planting for food and jobs, because according to the president, currently we are an exporter of some of these products and all that. Okay, anyway, I'll come back to you once again. But let me go to Dr. Kweku Mensah Mauto. Doc, President Adam Akufo-Addo, in his final State of the Nation address delivered yesterday, your position on that?
All right, thank you. I also like to extend my greetings to our viewers. I think we were here yesterday to listen to the president, and just as you all know, this is a constitutional mandate for the president to always deliver a State of the Nation. I mean, deliver as the State of the Nation's address to Ghanaians and through Parliament. And normally, what you expect the president in such addresses is to tell us what he took over and what is done, and then what he's about to do. These are the expectations that, whenever we get ready to listen to our president's delivering such messages. We expect that you tell us where we were, where we are, and where we are about to go. And I think, just as my colleague mentioned, the president did mention a number of areas that boils down to the economy, the health, as well as security, and also finances. Very, very critical to the survival of the citizenry. It's very, very important for us to acknowledge that. For the average Ghanaian, just as my colleague mentioned, I want to take it from another perspective. That yes, indeed, when you're speaking to issues, then I want to look at the data, okay? So looking at the economy, I ask, just as, I mentioned this here yesterday, that none of the presidents so far will tell you that I took over a robust, a very, very good, robust economy. Okay. They all tell us that, look, when we took over, the economy was weak. They give us the weakest fundamentals as well. But as independent analysts, we speak to figures. Okay. Is it true that, yes, indeed, when you took over was really below your expectation? Yes, indeed, the figures are there. Now, let's look at inflation. What happened to inflation in 2016 when he took over? Inflation was hovering around 15%. Now, the president says that, yes, indeed, it has reduced to what? Single digits. He mentioned single digits. But in fact, he did not even mention the digits. We are moving around 9%. Okay. So these are figures which are public, information. Anybody can check from the Bank of Ghana website, as well as the Statistical Service website. It's there. Then we are also looking at, I don't think it dwells so much on education. I think the speech did not dwell so much on education, but I only mentioned the flagship programs, implementation of free senior high school and then TVET. Yes. So we are also looking at the situation where one could say that, yes, indeed, the president did well in terms of some of these indicators. However, you've already mentioned it. Ghanaians were so much expectant of the exchange rates. I have mentioned over and over that, you see, the exchange rate, until we address some of our fundamentals, it will continue to depreciate against the prominent foreign currencies that we trade with. If you allow me to assess this government's performance in terms of the exchange rate, I'll tell you that even though if you want to do a comparison with the previous regime, they will tell you that we depreciated. The foreign currency depreciated, but was better than the of the previous government. That is not what Ghanaians expect. At least when you took over and you wanted to prove to us that, yes, indeed, you are a master of governance, and you have the strong economist. We expect that whatever foreign currency you took over, whatever the rate was, you either retain it. If you don't stabilize it, okay, don't cause any depreciation in terms of our currency. It's very, very important to note that. This is the truth. The average Ghanaian on the street, the average Ghanaian in the market, we expect that, look, the same currency I used to change 3 years ago, even if nothing at all. The government promised that, yes, indeed, they will stabilize the currency. So if nothing at all, I shouldn't suffer from depreciation of the currency. But as I always say, the politics of the exchange rate is something we have to take a second look at. The truth is that we live in a capital market where demand and supply determines the strength of your currency. So by and large, I think there will be a point in time that the politician cannot use the foreign exchange rate to do politics, but they have to strive to stabilize the currency by introducing very, very robust policies that will strengthen our currency. Now, another point of interest that we all expected the president to have mentioned, which he also mentioned, has to do with their flagship programs like the One District, One Factory. like my previous statement, these are some of the policies that or initiatives and programs that I think will stabilize our currency against the foreign dominating currency. However, you see, the business environment is what we are talking about here. You can put up all the factories. If you don't have the enabling environment to sustain these companies that we are churning out, then it's just like wasting money. Now, what do I mean by that? Today, what is the cost of manufacturing in this country? We are talking about energy. Compared to other countries, our energy, the energy required by these manufacturing companies to produce goods, how do we compare them in terms of unit price of consumption? The energy experts will tell you that electricity in this country is so high, and it is critical to most manufacturers in this country as to the survival of their operations. If your energy is so expensive, I don't know how you retain it. So we expect that government in its stimulus packages to some packages for these companies that we are constructing, these companies that we are building to sustain our currency. Now, if I'm permitted to continue, then I want to also mention that, yes, indeed, we were expecting, I want to join, my voice with those who are of the view that the president should have mentioned the fact that this election, a number of Ghanaians, no matter the situation, we shouldn't have lost we should have lost lives because of election. It's very imperative to know that the president should have mentioned and then mention some of these few issues in his statement. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a topic on its own. We'll really discuss that actually. But thank you so much, Doc, for your submission. Now let me go to Champion KOD. Champion KOD. Let's stay on this.
I get to experience and I get to feel what my panelists feel when they have to crack their brains to try and give us, some perspectives into matters that we table for our conversation. Yeah. Let me say a special good morning to Dr. Marzouk. Let me say a special good morning to Dr. Kweku Mauto. And also a special good morning to our cherished viewers across the globe. They have made it possible for us to get opportunity to sit here and to deliberate on matters of national importance. State of the Nation address, I think it's fundamentally appropriate to establish the basis upon which we deliver State of the Nation addresses. And if you want to simply put it, the State of the Nation address is just to give us an update as to a government's performance within a certain specified period, and for the nation to be brought up to speed with what government policies have been and whether or not those policies have been executed properly and whether it has affected the average citizen. So basically that's just about it. What are the policies? Have the policies been able to, have we been able to implement those policies? Have the people benefited from the policies implemented? And are those policies implemented sustainable? Because ultimately, it must come down to the survival of the economy. We delivered a baby. We delivered the MPP as a baby. And we as Ghanaians needed to rally support, all of our support behind that baby to ensure that that baby is alive and is well. And indeed, over the last 4 years, that baby has been alive and has been well. But as to whether or not we've been able to feed that baby very well to ensure that the baby is able to crawl, to walk, and to fly, it's a matter that we must subject that to strict interrogation. Now, what are the ingredients that ought to go into ensuring that the baby becomes alive and aware and well? The MPP prior to the 2016 elections, and I think that it's always very important to draw some inspiration from that which was said prior to the 2016 elections, because it was based upon those things that were said that Ghanaians found the need to entrust their lives and their livelihoods to a particular political party, which is the MPP, to lead the people. Now, they said several things, and I think that I don't want to belabor anything which have already been expanded on by my two very learned friends here.
Very well.
we spoke about the economy, and I think one of the things that were mostly trumpeted had to do with the economy. And if you do recall, that Bawumia, in his plethora of lectures, made it a point to consistently, without contradiction, drum home the fact that in terms of the economy, we were trailing. And also made the point to buttress that claim by indicating that if the fundamentals of your economy, of your economy or of your country was weak, the exchange rate will expose you. So one would have thought, and at the time we're looking at about 3.8 or so. So one would have thought that, you know, that forming the basis upon which the MPP were going about their campaigning could have been addressed differently when they were given the opportunity to assume the reins of power and to govern the very people that they went to seek their mandate. Now, on the basis, on just the basis of the economy, let's subject the performance of the MPP, okay, to the performance of the NDC prior to 2016, and see whether or not MPP has performed creditably well. You see, and I'm I'm doing this on the basis of that which was said by the president, because if you read, the president says that, and every single time the president gets an opportunity, he likes to somehow draw into the equation, you know, the performance of the previous administration. I don't know why he does that, because it's been 4 years, you know, of the MPP rule, and you still go back, you know, to 2016 to tell us the health status of the economy, and on the basis of that, continue to, you know, tell Ghanaians what you have been able to do in ameliorating or addressing those fundamental challenges. Now he says that, listen, I inherited an economy with severe macroeconomic instability, weak growth, a troubling financial sector, low investor confidence, and significant structural bottlenecks. The basic facts of our unhappy inheritance are well documented. Minus 15.4% rate of inflation, a 9.3% fiscal deficit, 32% rate of interest, 3.4% rate of GDP growth, the lowest in 2 decades, all under an IMF-sponsored bailout program. We set to work quickly, and I'm glad to say that we have been able to stabilize the economy, exit satisfactorily the IMF program, and restore confidence in the economy. I will grant them a few things because, yes, ultimately they've been able to achieve some of them. And I won't sit here to say that they've not been able to achieve some of them. Albeit that there are some schools of thought who have said that these are not a true representation of the facts or a true reflection of the fact as it should be. Because the people, many people are saying that MPP knows how to massage figures and how to, you know, find some comfort in the hands of people who are in control of our data system, so that they try to put out, you know, an information that will appear seemingly to be a reflection of what the realities are. And these are just mere conjectures, and I don't have any basis whatsoever to either disagree or agree with them. These are conjectures. It may or may not be true, but we have to subject that which has been put out to proper evidential proof. Now, if you look at the economy, for instance, I mean, the exchange rate is for all of us to see.
Exactly.
It is very evident that the exchange rate has been the worst in the history of our dear nation, Ghana. Check. $1 is what today?
I think almost 6 cedis.
Almost 6 cedis. But when I was complaining when a dollar was 3.8 Ghana cedis, right? But now the dollar is hovering around what?
6 cedis. I mean,
almost 6 cedis. 5.85, I think. Is that the economy that the president is touting to be very robust? Because our country largely, all right, is a country where we do not engage in production, we do not engage in industrialization. So it's more like a country that imports more than we even export. What do people use to import? They change the cedis into dollars and then use that to import. So if now, as we speak, $1 is to 5.85 is $1. You ask yourself, how much would somebody who imports, let's say, rice from Indonesia or wherever it is, because of course the currency of Thailand, how much will they change to be able to import rice into the country? How much? So I hear the MPP talk about, the percentage of depreciation is not as bad as the percentage of depreciation under the NDC. I mean, that's crazy for anybody to think that. It's just about it's the value, isn't it? It's the value. It's the value. And Dr. Kweku Malto is an economist. It's the value. If originally I used to change one cedi was to $1, and I was importing sugar from Brazil, right? I wouldn't need to change a lot of dollars or a lot of cedis to be able to get $1 to go and import. Now I have to change a lot of money to be able to get the dollar equivalent to import the sugar from Brazil. So it doesn't make economic sense to say that the percentage of depreciation is not as grave as the percentage of the depreciation under the NDC. In any case, when Dr. Baumia was organizing his lectures, etc., and indicating that the economy was crashing, he never spoke about the percentage of depreciation. He only spoke to the realities as it existed at the time and indicated unequivocally that the exchange rate was bad because at the time it was around 3.8%. So we need to state the facts as they are, and we don't need to treat one party differently from the other, because they are all political parties who came to seek for our votes, and we voted for them on the basis of the promises that they made to us. So we need to state the facts clearly as they are, without making inferences to percentages and things like that. Now, so that's the economy.
Okay.
I mean, look, single-digit inflation, etc., has been achieved. That's a fact. But let's look at and you see, production, industrialization, exports are part of the foundational blocks of every country's economy. So, for instance, the president then said that we have been practicing the Gettysburg economy for far too long. A Gettysburg economy is an economy that imports so much but exports very little. So what he was going to do when given the mandate was to change that system, that economic system, which was not allowing for us to engage in production and industrialization, but was always allowing us, to import more, so that now we'll become an independent country that will not be dependent upon or dependent on the importation of products, right, from other countries. Check this. The president comes, right, and on the basis of that introduces some wonderful, lucrative, laudable policies called Planting for Food and Jobs, One District, One Factory. Because if we're going to engage ourselves in production, then it means that, or in fact, if we are going to limit our importation of products, then we must necessarily ensure that we start businesses that will stand the test of time and that will allow for people to reduce their level of importation, right? What is the success story of One District, One Factory? What is the success story of Planting for Food and Jobs? What is the success story of Planting for Food and Jobs? So we cannot at all, on the basis of assumptions, conclude that the economy is robust, whereas on the ground, the realities do not support the facts. So I think Mr. President, with the greatest of respect to him, should come again in respect of the economy, for instance. Now, we all of us, and I'm not sure that I am the only fisherman or seaman, on board a ship that is sailing ashore. We will all agree that corruption, and the practice of it has become the bane of our country's development. Exactly. Indeed, it is the number one, if I can describe it as the number one venture or enterprise that has deteriorated the trajectory of growth of this nation. Corruption. And if you recall, corruption found proper expression in all of the lectures and in all of the symposias, and indeed, it was heralding the series of, series of campaigns that were organized by the MPP. And they said that the Mahama administration was so corrupt, was neck deep in corruption, and we're losing so much to corruption, which is actually a fact, because we lose about $2 million to corruption. Is it $200 million to corruption annually, right? So, which is a fact.
Exactly, yeah.
But then they indicated to the good people of Ghana that when given the opportunity, they were going to fight corruption head on. Oh my goodness. What a beautiful way of fighting corruption. If this is how we fight corruption, then I think that all of us can become very good presidents. So that we will appoint people who are closer to us. We will appoint our nephews and our uncles and our aunties and our grandchildren and grandfathers into office, so that we'll fight corruption very, very well. Because as far as I know, albeit that it has not been proven by any competent court of jurisdiction, but Dr. Mazuga, I'm sure, will agree with me that suspicion and allegation oftentimes are backed by evidential proof. The fact that a matter has not been taken to court, the fact that a competent court of jurisdiction has not adjudicated on any matter, does not preclude the citizens of this nation from assuming or making statement of facts that a government, a particular government, has been involved in some corrupt practices. Started from where? Started at the seat of government, where the two deputy chiefs of staff, I always get confused with that, deputy chiefs of staff were alleged to have been involved in some $20,000 bribery allegation. What happened? Nothing happened. That is the true state of the economy. When Bossgate, 5 million liters of oil vanished into thin air, what happened? Nothing happened. That is the true state of the economy. When Ameri deal was supposed to be renegotiated, what happened? We all saw what happened. That is the true state of the nation. Kwame GVG, right? What happened? That is the true state of the nation. And the plethora of corruption-related allegations that were leveled at the doorstep of government and how government addressed those issues, for me, fundamentally, forms the basis of any logical analysis, in respect of how the economy has fared. That's a fact. Now, look, Justice, and I'll end there for my senior brothers to come back, and then we'll come back again.
Very well.
Justice. When Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, assumed the reins of office, how much was our debt stock?
That was 122 billion.
Thank you. Right now, what is our debt stock?
We are hovering around 200 and is it 50 something, I guess?
54.
54, yeah.
Right? That is over 100%. Over 100% of our total debt stock from 1957 till 2016. And then from 2016 to 2019, our debt stock ballooned by over 100 and something, percent.
Within a space of 4 years.
Within a space of what, 4 years? Because 4 years is this year. Within a space of 3 years. That is the real state of the economy. That is the real state of the economy, is that people do not have health facilities to visit whenever they are not well. The real state of the economy is that fuel prices have been increased about 20 times and nobody's talking about it. And so, sometimes I don't know whether we treat different people different. I don't know. Because imagine if this had happened under former President John Dramani Mohammed's administration. Oh my goodness, heavens would have descended. And people would have lambasted President Mahama for abysmally managing the economy. How much do we now buy fuel? And right after the 2020 elections, you know it increased again? Oh, it increased. When you buy fuel, you know. It increased again. And nobody is talking about it. So that is the true state of the economy. What it means is that there's a rippling effect. If you increase the prices of fuel, it affects every other thing. So, for instance, it affects even production. Are you following? Because people who go to the hinterlands to bring foodstuffs to the central business districts obviously will use vehicles. If the prices of fuel go up, what it means is that they are going to add, you know, the excesses on the products that will be imported into the central business district, and they will sell it to you, Justice Appiah, Dr. Marzuk, Dr. Kwekuma Uto. Do you get what I'm saying? So we will bear the brunt of a bad policy that has been, you know, effectively, negatively implemented. And that's a problem. There's something that I wanted to say. Good. And I think that you were trying to take the wind out of my sail. That's why I needed to shut it, because I had done my research. let me finally end the first round of this conversation on what was said by the president. I found out to be very laughable. That the president says that, look, my good people, fellow Ghanaians, I am happy to tell you that now Ghana is a net exporter, and we no longer import tomato and plantain. I don't know who his economic advisors are. And I don't know whether he himself traverses the length and breadth of this nation. Because if he does, he would come to the realization that every single week, not less than 10 trucks bring tomatoes from Burkina Faso.
That's a fact.
Not less than 10 trucks bring tomatoes from Burkina Faso. Plantain. Nana Akufo-Addo. We still import plantain. As I speak to you now, onion is in short supply. Now, as I speak to you today. So what has been the success story of Planting for Food and Jobs again? In any case, the president said the introduction of the Planting for Food and Jobs, beyond the fact that we're going to be self-sufficient in terms of food security, was also the underlying, you know, fact that it was going to be an avenue for job creation for the good people of this country. The fertilizers that were meant for farmers, where did they go? I'm asking you, Justice, the fertilizers, where did they go?
Excellent, but Kwame, there was a time we are told that Planting for Food and Jobs alone has created over 750,000
That is
jobs.
the point. Where are the jobs? Who are the people who have been employed? Which people have been employed? Tell me, give me the data. Like, you see, Doc always likes to work with data. Look, I don't at all. And you see, we are treading on a very dangerous path, because what it is that if I want to win power, I will say whatever I want to say. I will get a few people to support me. A few voices of dissent will be cowered to submission, and then I can go on my own fishing expedition without any backlash, without any questions, and without any disagreements whatsoever. Are you following what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So government can simply come and say that I've employed in fact, Pan-African Television, I've employed 2 million people. How do you disprove that?
Exactly.
How do you disprove that? What has been the success story of Planting for Food and Jobs? Truly, honestly, what has been the success story of Planting for Food and Jobs? You remember at one point they said there was a bumper harvest of rice and things like that.
I was about to come to that. The minister told us that if you go to the market, you could get plantain as cheap as 2 cedis and 3 cedis.
And I found that to be very strange. And yesterday, Dr. Mauto unfortunately was trying to defend that. And I can appreciate why. Dr. Mauto was trying to defend that, to say that, but when you go to the hinterlands, you know, it says it depends on where you are buying it from. If you are buying it from the city, obviously, you will not get it as low as 3 Ghana cedis. right? But if you buy it from the villages and things like that, you may get it for.
But the minister,
let's even hold on. Let me grant him that. But let me grant you that. 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 Let me grant you that.
Okay, go ahead.
No, but let me grant you that. Let me even grant you that. Let me even grant you that.
All right.
When the minister was making that statement, what did he say?
He mentioned Carnation Market.
He said Carnation Market. If you go to Carnation Market, a bunch of plantain goes for 3 Ghana cedis. And I was wondering if he was talking about Carnation Market in Mars or Jupiter. because it was certainly not in here, or maybe Carnation Market in his house. In his bedroom. Maybe they have Carnation Market in his bedroom. Because it didn't make sense for anybody to think that a bunch of plantain will go for 3 Ghana cedis in this country. Justice, finally.
Okay.
Finally. I was very, very, very surprised that the president did not at all focus his lenses on the very things that he sought to use as a political tool for re-election. NAPCO was out. NAPCO was never mentioned. Youth in afforestation.
Never featured.
Never featured. Which other ones? Several of the youth policies never featured in the State of the Nation address. And sometimes I shudder to think whether our leaders do really care about the next generation. I don't think they care about the next generation. I think they care immediately about their pockets and what they can immediately do for their family members. So even if Ghana is in total abyss, they don't care because their family members are sorted out. They don't care about the generality of Ghanaians. A country with a youthful population of about 60%. 60% of the population are within the youth bracket. And yet somehow, all our policies that we have introduced are far removed from the things that will directly benefit the average young Ghanaian. Go and look at the people who sell on the streets of Accra. Very energetic people. If you look at the youth unemployment rate, yes, I'll grant them small because I think in 2016-17 it was worse. Sorry, in 2015-16 it was worse. Right? So now it's a little bit, I think now it's around 9.something%. Right? But if you look at the so-called policies that they've introduced, which policies are supposed to address the challenges confronting the young people, one would have assumed quite safely that youth unemployment would have reduced drastically. Because the president says, I've employed 1 million people. Oh, I've employed 700,000 people. And all of that. But it doesn't reflect the realities on the ground. If you drive on the streets of Accra, Dr. Mazu, and I'm sure you drive on the streets of Accra, you will come to the realization that we are wasting the resources, the human resources of our dear nation, Ghana.
Okay.
Why am I saying this? And I'm ending here, Justice. I know I'm belaboring everything. That when you drive through Fiesta Royale, you find young, energetic people who could have otherwise been working in the sugar factory in Commander. They could have been working there. Or they could have been working in the glass factory in Abos. They could have been working in Akumadan, the tomato factory. You understand? These people are selling jackknives, and dog cheese on the street of Accra. I'm not saying it is bad for them to do that. But given the opportunity, would they have opted for that? They would not have opted for that. So all policies, in my estimation, that emanate from the quarters of government must somehow look at addressing, or must necessarily deliberately, look at the fundamental economic challenges confronting the youth of this nation and how we can address it. So for me, the president delivered the State of the Nation address, but really, truly, genuinely, in some parts, it reflected the reality, but in many other parts within the statement that was given, it was not a true reflection of the state of the nation. Unfortunately, it was very, very partisan. It was not nationalistic. It was unpatriotic.
All right, thank you so much, Kwame. That was Kwame Owusu Danso, champion KOD. You are still watching your most authoritative, political show in the country. We are live on Facebook. You can share the Facebook post as many times as you can so other people watch. And then you can leave your messages and all of that over there. We'll read all those out for you. I want to move on, to the swearing in of President Akufo-Addo. God willing, tomorrow, that exercise is going to be done here in the country. As it stands now, we have hung Parliament. Parliament would have to convene and try as much as possible to get a speaker. After getting the speaker, then we look at, swearing in the president. Is that going to happen per the constitution? I'll start with you, Kwame. You, I don't know if I should call you lawyer Kwame. You are not a lawyer here in Ghana, but we all know that somewhere in Rwanda, you've qualified to be a lawyer. Yes. And so it wouldn't be out of place to refer to you as such. But a lawyer somewhere in Rwanda and a law student, your take on this particular one. Are we making any headway? Are we going to see President Akufo-Addo, sworn in, God willing, tomorrow?
Let me begin by stating that I do not intend to create the impression that I am at best I know everything relative to the laws of this nation, and that I am the master of the laws in this nation. However, I think that we can all form an opinion, and we can all defend our opinion, and we can all buttress our opinions with significant evidential proof. Now, after an election, the Constitution enjoins all of us to rally our support behind the person who has been elected to lead the nation for the next 4 years. And the president, whether it's a sitting president or a new president, must necessarily be sworn in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, and in accordance with some procedures that ought to be followed, which procedures are in the Constitution of this country. Now, I'm sure you are aware that we are the kind of political system that we have is one that is a mixture of the American system, okay, of government, and the United Kingdom system of parliament, sort of. So we are practicing more like not necessarily parliamentary supremacy, but it's more like parliamentary supremacy and executive, supremacy, sort of. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we necessarily have to also vote for our members of parliament to represent us in parliament and to articulate our concerns, which concerns can find expression in any of the laws that are being made or being passed in parliament, which laws will now see to the development of every Ghanaian in this country. And so, the parliamentarians have a very significant role to play in our body politic. Now, the Constitution says that, yes, the president must be sworn in, but the Speaker of Parliament must be sworn in before the president is sworn in, which means that we have to dissolve the parliament before the swearing in of the new president.
Exactly.
So even though Nana Akufo-Addo is the current president, because he is described, and I'm saying described because of the various challenges that have confronted or that have plagued the outcome of this election. So he's been described as the president-elect. He is still, he's still the president-elect, which means that the ministers, the members of parliament who were in his administration before now will all be dissolved, so that a new administrative body will be either, selected, nominated, or, properly so introduced to a good people of Ghana, so that they can start, their work as members of parliament. Now, It says, listen, so it means that if we've not selected a Speaker of Parliament, okay, we cannot at all swear in the president.
Exactly.
So the Speaker of Parliament must necessarily be elected or appointed or voted for before we can swear in a president. Now look at the constitutional gymnastics here, all right?
Yeah.
In Article 93, which is chapter 10 of the Constitution, which is headlined the legislature, composition of Parliament. 93.1. Listen. There shall be a Parliament of Ghana which shall consist of not less than 140 elected members. Okay? Which means that Parliament of Ghana shall consist of not less than 140 elected members. So until we have 140 elected members so represented in Parliament, there is no Parliament.
Exactly.
And Dr. Mazuki, you're an English master. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. There shall be, okay, the operative word here is shall.
Mandatory.
Shall is mandatory.
Yeah.
There shall be a Parliament of Ghana which shall, use the shall twice, consist of not less than 140 elected members. Right? So in my own estimation, if the current Parliament does not have 140 members of Parliament, we cannot say that Parliament has been properly constituted. And I know that they may have standing orders that may contradict the provisions of the Constitution, but the Constitution, every other law which is inconsistent with the Constitution, insofar as as far as how did the Constitution put it? It puts it nicely. To the extent, the Constitution says, to the extent of that inconsistency shall be rendered null and void.
Exactly.
So yes, we may have standing orders of Parliament, but if those standing orders of Parliament contravenes the provisions of the Constitution, to the extent of that inconsistency or contravention, that act of Parliament or that standing order of Parliament must be rendered null and void. So we must necessarily have 140 representatives in Parliament. Now, this is a Parliament which is very, very interesting because we have the MPP having, at this moment, because Techiman South, well, it's still in contention, but as it stands now, Techiman South has been accosted has been given or accosted by the MPP, correct? Yeah. So now MPP has 137. NDC also has 137. And we have an independent candidate. Now, the law is clear on independent candidates. An independent candidate is an independent candidate who does not belong to any political party.
Exactly. Yeah.
Went to contest an election as an independent candidate, not on a ticket of any political party. And therefore, that independent candidate cannot at all state that he belongs to party A or party B in Parliament. When you do that, what you have done is that you have vacated
your independence,
and therefore you can no longer become you can no longer represent the people who. So your seat will be vacant, and there will be a re-election, a by-election in that particular constituency. So as it stands now, that particular member of Parliament, okay, cannot at all hold himself out as belonging to the MPP. So we have 137 plus an independent candidate who's in the middle. So let's even assume that at the end of the day, we can say we are granting the MPP that one seat. So it becomes 38. It still does not meet the 140 requirement, to constitute, by the Constitution, constitute
a parliament.
And that's very crucial. Now, if Parliament is not constituted, it means that we cannot select a Speaker of Parliament.
Exactly.
Okay? Because Parliament must be properly constituted so that we'll be able to select a Speaker of Parliament. All right? Now, if we are not able to select a Speaker of Parliament, because you need, I think, 2/3 majority or so to be able to select. So if you don't even, Parliament is not constituted at all on the basis of what the Constitution says, it means that there will not be any Speaker of Parliament. If there's no Speaker of Parliament, it means that the President cannot be sworn in on the 7th of December, of January.
Which is going to be tomorrow.
Which is tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it's going to play out. I am not a member of Parliament. I cannot sit here to say that I'm the sole repository of knowledge. In fact, I am not clothed with any authority to interpret the Constitution. But on the face of it, it appears that it is going to be very, very, very difficult for us going into the future, unless there's some compromise. And Dr. Mazuka, I'm sure, will speak about the principle of compromising when we are in such dire situation, which requires the ultimate contribution and support of all players and actors to ensure that we move the sanctity of our democracy forward, so that we'll be able to chart a path of growth and a path of development for our good people of Ghana. Yes, I can appreciate the pain of the NDC. I can appreciate the fact that they are particularly not enthused about the way they have been treated in this process. But the question then remains that will they act in the interest of the development of this nation, or they will act in the interest of the good people of Ghana? Now, two arguments spring up. One is that in acting for and on behalf of our people who are aggrieved as a result of the fraudulent way in which the EC conducted the elections, we are acting for the development of this nation, because then it will be advancing and expanding our understanding of the Constitution and how it operates and how people's rights must be respected. Right? So, in the same vein, you are achieving the other angle, which will also say that, oh, let it slide, so that in the interest of the development and the peace that we are seeking to enjoy.
Okay.
So it's going to be very, very interesting situation, and hopefully we will be able to address that particular issue.
All right.
Let me go. I'll go through the Constitution, and if there are any other things that I need to add, I will do so.
All right. I'll come back to you for that submission to be done. But that was succinctly put by Kwame Owusu Danso. Now let me come to Dr. Kwame Samauto on this particular issue.
Thank you, Justice. Thank you, Justice.
Select a speaker so that we can have that could pave the way for the swearing in of the president.
Yeah.
As it stands now, we have hung parliament 137, one independent.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Justice. I think I just want to probably seek some clarification from Kwame, because I've also just referred to Chapter 10 of the Constitution of this country, specifically to confirm and also look at the statement made by Kwame that Parliament there shall be a Parliament of Ghana which shall consist of not less than 140 elected members. As a layman, I'm not a lawyer, but from where I stand and what I read, this is giving the minimum number of members of Parliament, 140. But currently, I don't see this posing any serious constitutional conflict in the Parliament we have now, because I don't know what you were trying to put across, because were you trying to relate it to the majority representation or just the constitution of members in Parliament? If that is the case, it says that there shall be not less than, but it can be more than.
But
and currently,
below 140.
So you see, currently, if we are to look at the membership for Parliament, we have 275.
I agree with you. 100%.
So I don't think there will be any problem in terms of the constitution of members of Parliament.
Maybe I didn't tell you. If the NDC decides not to go to Parliament, there's no Parliament.
Oh,
if they wanted 7 MPs, or
if they wanted the 7 MPs of the NDC
NDC decides not
to go to Parliament, there's no Parliament.
Okay, so that's where you're coming from.
But that's the logic. I mean,
okay, all right. I don't know. I didn't get it right.
Okay. Maybe I didn't explain myself
because we are yet to hear that.
NDC to go.
Yes.
No, because I mean that will be for anybody who is seeking for justice, for instance, on the streets and in court. The ideal situation would be to say that, well, we won't give you
exactly
our 137 for you to constitute.
All right. No, I thought we were looking at that is 93.
93-1.
Close 93-1. Yeah. So you see, I think I misunderstood you. I thought you were referring that to the majority constitution of probably a particular political party, but that is just by the way. And I don't think NDC is saying that they wouldn't be participating in tomorrow's.
But we've seen situations where people have boycotted, parliamentary.
In 92, MPP boycotted parliament. Yeah.
So if the NDC decides to boycott the process,
it's happened before.
It means that there wouldn't be a parliament per what the constitution is saying.
Okay. That just by the way. Probably we can be looking at that later. These are legal issues. I'm not an expert in law. And probably Kwame has read some law, so he can give us some interpretation. And I'm very happy that you have clarified that particular point. So, yes, indeed, there are a number of issues that bedevil this year's election. I think for the first time, we've listened to a number of experts in the area of constitutional law. And I think where we have gotten to, some corteses, school of thought, have mentioned that we don't have is it a hanged parliament? Okay, and then others are saying yes, indeed, we have hanged parliament in the sense that the word hanged, if you are trying to look at it from the British perspective of definition, then it meant something else. But if you just look at it from the literal meaning of hanged, by saying that look, both parties have the same numbers, then you put it in that literal meaning or context. So here one may ask, what is the significance of this year's parliament to the development of this country? Where I sit, I can tell you that I can describe our parliament to be a two-edged sword, where there could be implication of dual implication of issues or outcome if we are to constitute this parliament tomorrow. One, we have one major independent member who probably will be the determinant of every decision in parliament now. Kwame mentioned the issue of going to for by-election in the event the independent member decide to join a particular political party. Notwithstanding this, he also have the right to either represent a particular view in parliament. So at any given point in time, he may decide to join a view espoused by either the NPP or NDC. But where we stand now, we all know that there is a neutral number between these two major political parties where decisions will be determined. And we all know, we've been told that in Parliament, almost 90% of issues are decided on consensus. In rare cases, we have issues being voted, especially when there are disagreements among these major political parties. So we are going to have a Parliament where we have one major determinant of all decisions. That is the independent party, candidate who has been elected by his constituent to now be the major, I'll say that tiebreaker of parliamentary decision next year. This year, sorry. So the issue is, what is the implication of this parliament to decision?
But Doug, before you come to the implications, the issue of the independent member of parliament being a decider, people have raised issues. People are saying that that is not the entire truth, because you have some percentage of parliamentarians who are appointed ministers, and some may embark on their ministerial, assignments and all of that. They may not necessarily be present in parliament. When it comes to a situation where we are voting and such, ministers who are MPs were not present in Parliament, isn't it going to pose, a serious challenge to the ruling party?
Especially that is subjective. That's subjective. If the ruling party decide to appoint a number of ministers into ministerial positions and they decide not to attend Parliament, it goes against them, and I don't see this coming. And there's also a possibility that the other party, the NDC, may also have some of their MPs traveling on a particular day. It's normal. I mean, but at any given point in time, we know that if there are consensus agreed by both parties or all the members in Parliament, I don't think that it will affect decision making. But as I mentioned, I'm very particular with the sort of Parliament we are going to have this year, in the sense that, you see, it could benefit us and also probably serve as one of the most worst parliament in the history of in this country, because it's an unknown. And looking at our culture, where we come from, the fear is whether we can withstand the pressures that will come. Why am I saying this? Over the years, we know that even people outside Parliament sought to even accuse our lawmakers of compromising to some enticements from people who really want to get some laws passed in Parliament. Are you okay? And I think even the last Parliament, there was a particular MP who even accused the House that they were influenced by money to even approve a minister who has been proposed by the sitting government. We all know what happened. At the end of the day, it came out that there was no evidence to back his case. Even before then, there was the almighty controversial, is it KK Ofori or there was this MP who was an anti-corrupt campaigner who have always accused that's his colleagues, Apiafori, yeah.
Okay,
Apiafori. This man has always consistently accused his colleagues of taking bribe, taking money from people before trying to, which turn out to influence whatever the law they sit on. These are serious issues. Even when we had a parliament where there was a clearly defined majority party, there was this issue of compromises on the part of some of these members. This time, one could say that, okay, even those days, the lobbyists and then the people who have their parochial interests could easily influence. Now we are going to have a parliament that there will be equal numbers, but one decider. The two-edged sword here is that, yes, indeed, it may benefit us one way or the other. That is, if really indeed these people will not compromise on their integrity, that will benefit the society as a whole. However, if truly the allegations by in the past by even some parliamentarians as well as some citizenry is to go, then I think the 8th Parliament is in a serious. Yeah. I mean, we'll be in a serious mess. Yeah. In that, if we do not take care, it simply means that the lobbyists and then the Western world, today, in today's contemporary world, you don't expect the Western world to unleash military force on you to get whatever they want to do. Now, all they need is to get into a parliament to influence. In fact, they have lobbyists who can lobby the entire parliament to do whatever they want to do. In Africa, that is what is happening today. I hope you are getting the picture. So here, the fear is that if truly the integrity level of the parliamentarians we have voted for is questionable, then I tell you, we are going to have the worst parliament in the history of this country.
Fair.
However, if we, and all boils down to the level of integrity they espouse as individuals as well as the institutions. I cannot vouch for those in charge of institutions, but one could easily vouch for the integrity of individuals. For instance, Kwame, I may know you to espouse, some high level of integrity for particular issues. I may not know the others, so I can vouch for you.
Okay.
So if the integrity of our ministers are not questionable, then I tell you this parliament will be the best parliament that will help this nation, in that we may not have policies, we may not have bills sent there where people will use their numbers, okay, to just bulldoze their way through. Yeah. Now, just to refer to the I think the recent bill, the tertiary bill. Okay, we all know what happened. If a particular political party want to use their numbers to influence the bill passed into law, they will do it as is. The worst you could do now is to just probably you can go to court. I hope I get it. But the truth is that this time we only have one decider. That is the independent candidate who will always be there to influence. So it once again boils down to the issue of integrity. If this independent candidate is as corrupt as any of them, you bear with me that most decisions will go the way of those who compromise our system. So we are at a crossroad as a country. We are facing the unknown. It has never happened in the history of Ghana before. We are just hoping that the eyes watching democracy, especially the media will be circumspect and also police virtually every bill, every decision that goes in there. Now, when Kwame spoke, I flagged out some few issues that I really wanted to address, and that boils down to the excellent, policing of the media, of our political parties as well as parliament by the media. And you see, if you are policing such intelligent people, such smart people, such smart institutions, then you need data, you need information. And once again, for we academicians, we normally work with facts. The media need to invest so much in their quest to verify whatever government in power normally will churn out. So, for instance, Kwame, when you mention that, yes, indeed, the president mentioned, referred to the fact that we have ceased the importation of tomatoes. And you came out to say that the fact is that cars have been imported, they have been bringing tomatoes. Where is the data? Do you have that evidence? Did the president provide me? No. You see, the president has mentioned. Are you okay? He has mentioned. So you see, your argument is validated when you probably just a sin from Makanishi market that there is a truckload of tomatoes from Burkina Faso. Then the average Ghanaian who said, Kwame is not doing politics here. No. I can tell you, until then, Kwame have not really validated your statement.
Who are the people who gathered the data? Who gathered our data?
So you see, Kwame, you see,
which people gathered the data?
During the election, myself and you were here.
Yeah.
You had people on the field.
Yeah.
Even before some political parties organized their press conference, you were informed of what they were coming to say.
So
you know we're here.
Based on what I know, this is the reality.
You provided evidence in my presence because when you called your field officers, I was there. I heard it.
So you don't trust me?
No, I wouldn't say I don't trust you.
Exactly. So I'm telling you that's what it is.
You see, my profession teaches me to always work with evidence.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, you are in media, so the one you interviewed, for you know, to the government, they have seized the importation. So there's some embargo on
the government is also
some people. The government, because some individuals as well as institutions.
It's not just
they should
also given us data.
Such
Just listen. Listen.
Kwame, I'll come to you.
No, listen. The president should have also given us data.
Okay.
To say that from between this month to this month, or between this year to this year, these are the statistics. These are the figures. This is what we've been able to achieve. So. Then we know. We can't simply come and say that. Because of planting for food and jobs, we have stopped the importation of tomatoes and plantains, and we are net exporters of
So if you want to disapprove that, are you okay? The president made a statement in the State of Nation address. So I want to disapprove that with evidence. So let me send a camera to the field. Let the people tell me that yes, indeed, just yesterday or just 2 weeks ago, we imported 4 trucks of tomatoes from Burkina. Then you are validating your statement. Are you okay? Then I will believe your statement and disapprove that of what do you call it, the president. But until then
I am telling you
say that you see, I think Doc as well as Kwame also described some of the statement as political. Which is true. I mean, if I represent a political party and I'm presenting on my performance, I really want to praise the very things I've done. Which is true.
But kindly be wrapping up for me.
It will require evidence, validation. And this is, I was trying to refer it to what will happen in our coming parliament. That the media, and I know it is not really easy to do what I'm even recommending. It's expensive. The media needs to be equipped to go out there to verify most of the issues so that the public will have the basis to say that, look, this action, we are going to take this action because of A, B, C, D. But until then, the politicians will always they'll always make loose statements.
All right.
Let him
land. I'll come to you for 1 minute.
And Dr. Madugu will appreciate it.
Okay.
You see the hypocrisy.
What's the hypocrisy?
You see the hypocrisy.
What happened?
When former President Mahama was building and constructing the overheads, what did they say? People said, oh, the prices were inflated without appreciating what was going into the building of those things. For instance, the one at Circle Dubai had hospitals, schools, etc. The people only simply came to say, oh, and nobody required any data to come and challenge what President Mahama did. That's a hypocrisy. The president comes out between myself and the president. Who is supposed to provide who with data? Who is supposed to provide who with data? The president has a ministry, a whole ministry for monitoring and evaluation. So who is supposed to provide who with data? Do Ghanaians pay their taxes to me? You are giving account of your stewardship within a period of 4 years to the good people of Ghana.
Okay.
And you are making unfounded allegations about how you have been able to stop the importation of tomatoes and plantain into the country. So you should give us evidence. Evidence is that which supports the fact. I am saying that what the president said is totally untrue and it's a falsehood. And I'm telling you that as I speak to you today, call anybody who lives closer to the Burkina border. They will tell you that every single week, 10 trucks load tomatoes from Burkina Faso to Accra. And I'm telling you that is what it is. Our viewers who are watching us can either disagree with me or
exactly.
because that's the reality.
But I personally know
I don't have any basis. I don't have any basis to come and sit here and lie. I'm saying that once we have admitted that the president also has the penchant of engaging in politics with some of the things that they do, then it should not be far from correct at all for anybody to also submit and assume and make proper presumptions of fact that what the president also delivered as a State of the Nation address was only to serve the interest of his political party, and it was merely a political talk and not the realities as so presented, on the ground.
Thank you so much, Kwame. Let me come to Dr. Mazu.
And Dr. Ambassador Sampiale agrees with the position that I sent.
Okay.
And that's what I just wanted to correct.
Okay, you go
He
ahead
said
with
Article 93.1, number of 140 was relevant, even when their number, this is the MPP, their number was more than 137. Okay. Today, it is even more critical. Indeed, if the NDC refuses to attend Parliament, then there will be Ohala for Ghana.
So let's also not lose sight of the fact that Ambassador Sampiale is a lawyer, and lawyer, with a good standing,
and NDC member.
And a member of the NDC.
Exactly.
A leading member of the NDC. Exactly. But here we are speaking on the face of a law, and I want to tell that he wasn't speaking as a layperson.
I didn't say that. I just want your viewers to appreciate that.
Very well.
So I'm helping you.
All right. Okay.
But you are giving him up too.
Like the way I'm helping.
Anyway.
Oh, yeah,
I'm helping
Dr. Mazouk
to validate his
Dr. Mazouk. Okay. Anyway, but Kwame has asked.
You see, the point is that you, Dr. Kwakumato here, Dr. Mazouk, he was disagreeing with me, but he himself disagreed with me verbally.
Sure.
Anyway, what is your data?
I was only encouraging you to protect the sanctity of the media.
Dr. Malto and then his friend Kwame allow Dr. Mazouk to make his.
I talked about the data first. I started to disagree with the president in terms of data.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I started it, and I say, well, if the president is capable of giving us data against his opponent, he should give us data in favor of himself, right? So I think there is the need for all of us to respect data. So I agree with you, but you continue to have that.
Well, I think that, and Kwame has asked very important questions.
Yes.
How many trucks of tomatoes and plantain have been exported within the period, of the planting for food and jobs? How much has the country gained from that? The president should have been able to provide all those. And I think that those questions are very, 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 very important questions. Doc, the swearing of President Akufo-Addo.
Thank you. I do not see anything at all wrong with whatever we are going to do. And I do not anticipate any iota of constitutional crisis. Yes, no. I do not.
Why?
Thank you. This is the explanation.
Yes. Provision. Okay, all right.
And even yours.
All right.
I'll come to yours too.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
We need to look at Parliament from different dimensions. If you look, first of all, let me count the dimensions. The numerical strength of the various political parties. The reality of independent candidate. The parliamentary compositional structure. We need to look at that. When it comes to the numerical strength, ours is multi-party democracy. So it is the principle of pluralism that determines the numerical strength of the various political parties. However, when it comes to the parliamentary structure, definitely we are dealing with two sides, not multiple sides. In terms of numerical strength, yes, the argument of hung parliament could be reasonable. So you can only say that we have a hung parliament if you are referring to the numerical strength of both political parties. That argument could be reasonable. But beyond that, Parliament has a particular compositional structure for the purpose of conducting parliamentary business. And that is the principle of majority and minority size. There's no other side apart from majority and minority in Parliament. Okay. We need to look at that. Yeah. And I think all of us are missing that point. If we understand that principle, then definitely all major opposition parties will definitely have their side as minority. All members of all independent parliamentarians will also have a choice not to belong to the political parties but to join the side of the majority or the side of the minority. So in that case, we definitely will not have any hung parliament when we have a kingmaker. But even beyond that, I think it is a matter of time. That kingmaker may cease to be a kingmaker because some of the seats are still contested. And we do not know how the future compositional structure of parliament will look like. So definitely, if you consider the two dimensions, plus the independent, we do not have any problem. Parliament will sit, we will deal with the data available to us. The independent candidate knows very well, if he is the first person to know the consequences of joining a political party, not joining a side, that must be established. Because he was warned, he was even sacked. He was supposed to be sacked. So he knows the implication, the legal implications of joining a political party. And I don't think he will look so stupid, pardon my words, to join the political party. But he has the right to join a side in parliament. So there's nothing wrong with that. We don't have any problem. Now, let there be order. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now,
go ahead,
yes,
Doc.
yes. Now, we are looking at the parliamentary procedure. And then, Doc mentioned the opposition party. But as far as I am concerned, this particular parliament is different from the parliament that was boycotted by the opposition. These parliamentarians have been elected, and look at the language of that article, elected members of parliament. If you want, you can read it. Yeah. They have been elected as members of parliament. So today, we have 137 for NDC elected members, 137 elected members of NPP. When they all come together, we all know the figure. Then we have an elected independent member. All of them constitute the current elected members of parliament. That should be different from the one that we experienced in 1992.
1992, were they
in
not
the
elected?
case of the 1992, they boycotted the parliamentary election. They were never elected.
Okay.
So it is a faulty analogy, with all due respect, to use it in this context. They boycotted. And you know why? In 1992, I voted because I was qualified to vote. In 1992, we had a separate date for parliamentary election.
Yeah, I remember that.
Then we have a separate date for presidential election. Yeah. We dealt with the presidential election first, and then a date was set for the parliamentary election. And that gave them the opportunity to boycott. And I think that was deemed subsequently, political scientists, governance experts, and even the ruling class and subsequent governments realized that there was, it was injurious, and it was also capital intensive, more costly. It is better to have one presidential and parliamentary election on the same day. You understand that?
It could also determine the fate of members of parliament.
Exactly.
Because if your party loses, the likelihood that you're going to lose is high.
Exactly. Exactly. Now let's go to the consequences, the governance consequences of the current parliament. I think it is the best for us. One, it will neutralize the irresponsible dose of partisanship in our governance system. Two, it will compel the two sides to respect the beauty of compromise. And once they compromise, the results will be nationalistic. If they refuse to compromise, the results will be individualistic. And I think we must compel them to compromise. Let me give you a classic example. You think this current parliament will give just rubber stamp a gargantuan legitimized act of thievery this parliament will not do that. Definitely, this parliament will check it. I am happy that I have been vindicated. I predicted this. If I was even of the view that one party, NDC, for instance, should have presidential, NPP should have parliamentary majority, so that we could see how they would behave. Or NPP presidential, NDC parliamentary. I predict here. I did that. And I'm so much happy it has happened. It will also reduce the danger of impunity by the so-called majority in parliament. Then again, that monster of winner takes all will be exposed to everybody so that we reconsider that decision. The winner takes all. It may compel the president to appoint ministers from the opposition. It may. And if it does that, definitely we are enhancing the quality of national unity, of compromise, of constitutionalism, of prosperity, of excellence in governance. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doc, for your submission. You're still watching Good Morning Africa Radio on Pan-African Television. We have a very last topic to deal with, and this topic is one that is very, very serious. We can't have members of parliament making such irresponsible statements. What did he say? We don't commiserate with armed robbers. Joe Wise justifies President Akufo-Addo's silence in the just ended, violence that erupted in the election, where we've had about 8 people died. Let's go and watch the video briefly. Then I would start with my guests on that. Let's go and watch. We'll be right back.
Were you a bit disappointed that the president did not even speak at all about the people who lost their lives in the Techiman South constituency?
I think that it is not fair for people to refer to an event without going back. What happened? Should the president just talk about if a criminal is shot, he's shot. The crime does not matter? I beg to differ. What happened? The president should stay out. Let the investigative people determine what happened. But I think it's not fair to insist that because somebody died, even if he was in the process of committing a crime, it becomes an issue. No, I beg to differ.
Not even commiserations to the families?
Hello? Do we commiserate with the families of armed robbers we shoot?
Are the people who died armed robbers, or are they criminals?
Crime? Were they in the process of committing a crime? Let's determine that. These are thinking of any victim of any victim attracts our sympathy. I don't support that. If I am wrongly killed, I deserve sympathy. But if I am shot in the process of preventing a crime, I deserve that.
From your own estimations, these ones are not deserving that. Okay.
We haven't determined that. That's why that should not be our process. Okay. Our process now, our focus now should what happened. Nobody's talking about what happened.
Welcome back. You've listened to the Member of Parliament for Asante Bekwai, who happens to be the Deputy Speaker of Parliament. Spewing out such an irresponsible comment. That one I would never and ever, with no apology, say that he has spewed out an irresponsible comment, a comment that shouldn't be expected from a member of parliament. I'll start with you, Kwame, on this one. You've listened to him.
I'm surprised Justice has taken a position already, an entrenched one for that matter. But I'm not surprised at all, because there's no two sides to this matter. And also because we are still in a very youthful democratic space, and our politics is not as grounded in democracy as we always start it to be. The reality is that we have had people compromise a lot of times. We have had people just go with the flow. We have had people just, renege on the very things that they could have done, which things could have derailed the success that we have chalked over the period in respect of our democratic experiment. And so it is very surprising that people do not appreciate the commitment by many people, including the dead, who have consistently, without any iota of contradiction, contributed quite significantly and materially to the sustenance of our democracy. Now, if you have leading political players and actors, which leading political actors and players represent a constituency, all right, a constituency that is made up of criminals, a constituency that is made up of political actors and players, a constituency that is made up of NDC members, a constituency that is made up of MPP members, a constituency that is made up of independent-minded people. Make such irresponsible comments about people whose only crime was to defend the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. In any case, I have the Constitution here with me. You see, and he says that must the president commiserate with the family members of criminals or armed robbers? It is only the court in this country that is clothed with the authority to determine whether somebody is an armed robber or not, whether somebody is a criminal or not. It does not lie in the mouth of any police officer. It does not lie in the mouth of any politician. It does not lie in the mouth of any journalist to make a declaration as to the fate of somebody who, in their estimation, has committed an offense. In any case, that is why the Constitution is very clear that all persons are presumed innocent until proven otherwise. And on the basis of that, if you are making pronouncements on a matter, you don't have to be prejudicial. You don't have to predetermine the outcome of a case, because yes, you may have seen that somebody is stabbing somebody. So on the basis of that, you as a layperson will come to the conclusion that this person is a criminal, but the person may have a defense, and the defense that the person, you know, and the evidence that will be so adduced by that person in the competent court of jurisdiction will determine the fate of that person in that courtroom. So nobody has any basis at all to make any pronouncement to the effect that people are criminals or not criminals. They don't have the basis. Indeed. If the police, even when they find that somebody is engaged in armed robbery or whatnot, can apprehend those people, they are supposed to apprehend those people without necessarily killing them. Because the fact that you've seen that somebody is engaged in an act does not mean that the person is a criminal. The person is not guilty until proven innocent. The person is innocent until proven guilty. And that is the rule of law. That is the rule of law. And that is, you know, this is what characterizes the operation of rule of law in any civilized democratic country. Look at the Constitution, Justice Appiah.
There.
Look at the Constitution.
What did the Constitution say?
Hold on. Oh, is it a proper Constitution? Okay. I'll look for it.
Very well.
But this is not what I think Article 2:1 or 1:2 of the Constitution, you know, enjoins. I'm just paraphrasing. Okay. But that article enjoins all citizens to protect and defend the Constitution. Because when you overthrow the Constitution, you've overthrown the state. And when you overthrow the state, you have overthrown the Constitution. So we are mandated, in fact, we are enjoined by the Constitution to at all material times defend the Constitution to the hilt. Which is why when people say that, you know, and the Constitution even expands it and says that when you find that somebody is trying to engage in a coup d'etat, you as a citizen, you have a right to defend the Constitution. So you have the right to even apprehend, deal with the person. In fact, even to the extent of killing that person, because the person is going to be involved in what? In overthrowing the state. Now, the Constitution in Article 42 of the, you know, makes it quite clear. And even before I get to Article 42, the practice of democracy, right, flows from a stream of events and activities. Which events and activities have been jealously guarded and protected from 1992 till today. That every individual of sound mind and of 18 years and who is a citizen of this country has the right to vote, albeit that there are processes that the person must go through. Now, when you vote, Justice, you must necessarily defend the vote that you've cast because you want to select or elect a particular person to lead you for the next 4 years. And therefore, you are obligated as a matter of principle and as a matter of convention to protect your ballot, to ensure that your will is not subverted. What happened in Techiman South constituency? What happened? These people went to cast their ballot. And after casting their ballot, they realized that if they were not as vigilant as the eagle, their votes were going to be their votes were not going to count, for the selection of the member of parliament or the election of the member of parliament in that particular constituency. So they massed up at the coalition center. And when you go to the constitution does not prevent anybody from massing up at the coalition center. Nothing prevents anybody. In fact, once even coalition is done, they must paste it in the full glare of the public for notice to be given to the people who casted their ballot or who cast their ballot within that constituency. So if people realize that their votes will not be counted on the basis of a deliberate attempt, in their estimation, by the state to use brute force, right, to get some other person elected in that constituency, Justice, they have every right and more to defend that particular vote that they casted and the constitution of this republic. We all saw videos. What did they do? They were only demonstrating their displeasure about how the processes had fared and about the fact that there was a deliberate attempt to, push the NDC person out and get the NPP person elected as the member of parliament for that particular constituency. And as law-abiding citizens and as people who want to protect the democracy of this nation, they decided to protest. And then because somehow people knew exactly what they wanted to do, they decided to bring the police, decided to bring the military to come and prevent these people from witnessing the counting and the collation of their legitimate, vote cast. Why? And then in the process, you end up shooting people, and then you after shooting people, do not find it important and needful to even acknowledge that these are some of the fallouts from the elections that we've had, and therefore you want to apologize and even commiserate with the families of the people who were shot and killed for defending their votes. If we cannot as a nation encourage the young population of this nation to defend their rights and to do the things that the national anthem prescribes for us to do, then what kind of a nation are we trying to build? That we must be fearless, isn't it? That we must be honest. That we must resist oppressors' rule. These are the basic principles that underlines any nation that is seeking to progress democratically. And what happened? You have the president of the land. And I was not surprised at all that the president failed to speak, to this particular issue. Because we've had instances where people are involved in accidents and the president doesn't even comment on it. That there's a huge accident, the president even doesn't care, he doesn't comment. But when in Rome or something like that, was it Paris or Rome? No, not US. The Paris or Rome.
I think one of the something like a cathedral.
Their cathedral. Yeah. Their cathedral collapses and then the president tweets about it. It got bent. Paris. And then the president tweets about it. But in around the same time, you remember, I think an STC bus also caught fire. People died. The president never tweeted. So I was not surprised at all. And I thought, in fact, I was not even expecting the president to speak to this particular issue. to commiserate with the family members.
Kwame, Floyd was killed in US.
Floyd was killed in US.
We had a vigil here in Ghana.
You know, but the point, fundamentally, and I'm ending here, is that, look, why? Joe Wise and a few other members of parliament are noted for some of these reckless statements. Very reckless, irresponsible statements. Very reckless. How did he arrive at the conclusion that the people who were shot were armed robbers or criminals? How? Is he a judge? Is he the law? How did he arrive at that conclusion? And these are people who are leading constituents. If you have such characters in the helm of affairs, I'm telling you, Justice, our country will continue to retrogress. Because these people do not think about the people of this nation. They don't care. So that they can easily pass some laws because they don't care about you. And yet somehow, we still get people vote for these people to go and represent them in parliament. They don't care about you. All they care about is their pockets and what they can benefit from the state. You and I will continue to wallow in abject poverty, and we will end up voting for these people to go and enrich themselves, and to add injury to salt. What do they say it? You know, even insult us on top and say we are criminals and we are armed robbers for defending the constitution of this nation. I am appalled. I am very appalled and I'm very upset. If we don't begin to speak some sense to these old folks, they will destroy this nation for us.
All right, thank you so much, Kwame. No wonder his constituents objected vehemently to, going back to Parliament. Dr. Kweku Mensah Mauto.
Just
a comment from a member of Parliament.
Yeah.
What's your position on that?
Just as I think, just as Kwame had submitted, I think Kwame is a great philosopher and was able to really find the right word. So I wouldn't like to rerun whatever Kwame has said. Kwame has given us the preamble to the whole issue with some constitutional, provisions as to you not just ascribing to someone as a criminal. And Kwame has done everything. I wouldn't go back to those rhetorics again. However, I also want to condemn. This were issues raised by, genuinely by Ghanaians even before the State of Nation address. I think there are a couple of citizens who have the view that we're expecting that the president would touch on several issues, including the killings. And these were voices that came out that the government should even come out on such issues. Yes. Okay, all right. So Article 3:4, all persons of Ghana shall have the right and duty at all times to defend this constitution and in particular to resist any person or group of persons seeking to commit any of the acts conferred in class 1 of this article. Okay, this is the issue Kwame wanted to, the provision Kwame wanted to really
he was actually looking
espouse.
This was sent to us by Ambassador Sampiani.
Okay.
All right. So just as you mentioned, there were calls made by several courtesans, even before the State of Nation address, for the president to have come out to probably state its position as to, or better still, to commiserate. And some were even calling for probe into the killings. And it is fair that as Ghanaians, if a life is lost, the government in power have the responsibility to investigate, to tell us why even one life is lost. These are things, a number of courts have called for investigation. So it was fair that we called that the president should have at least mentioned or commiserate with the family. It's unfortunate. In fact, I do not think the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament spoke on behalf of his party. Because yes, I don't think so. Because if indeed he did speak on behalf of his party, then I think he's adding more injury to what has happened to the ruling government than good, in that at a critical moment when we are trying to solve the problems which bedeviled our election, a whole respectable member of parliament could make such a loose statement. I'll use the word loose statement.
Yeah.
I do not think he thought of it. And even could have mentioned this in public. To say that, and it's not a Ghanaian culture. I mean, Kwame, you know that irrespective of our differences, deaf in Ghana could unite no matter the case.
That's very true.
You know, the first time you see a politician commiserating with an opponent, it's most at times deaf. I mean, I quite remember when we lost a former president. One of the people who was almost virtually everywhere was our senior citizen, speaking to issues. I mean, the memories. I mean, he shared with the former president at Tamils. Okay, so you don't joke with deaf in our part of the world. It's culturally wrong for you to have made such statement. For you to label people. In fact, we all watched the video, and some of us watched the fact that some disgruntled, people who were not very happy with the result, tried even pushing the returning officers and all that. We don't even know. I mean, these are things, but you see, irrespective of those, this one could say are criminal. Are you okay? It is incumbent on the police to have arrested such people. Don't forget, this is not even, this crime could not even be related to those who went snatching ballot boxes. I know. Is it what do you call it? One of the Owusu Senya. Somebody went to snatch ballot boxes. And no, I learned he wasn't shot.
No, he was shot.
He was shot, killed.
Yeah, the person died.
No, but I think the police came out to say that he wasn't shot, but they were he was attacked by, what do you call it? The people. Yeah. Okay. He wasn't shot by the police. So the issue is that there was also one who even snatched a ballot box. The police arrested the person, and then the person was prosecuted, if I'm not mistaken, within the Brown region. Yeah. So you see, the police have the craftsmanship to have executed their work professionally. Yes, sometimes they use force. Now, if in the process of executing their mandate, unfortunately, they lose lives. Are you okay? Or it leads to loss of lives. For a whole member of parliament who have been elected to represent the interests of his constituent and the nation as a whole, make such statement, I think it's out to be condemned. And it's unfortunate. I'm condemning him because I'm just waiting for his party, that is the MPP, to come out to deny that, yes, indeed, or to disassociate themselves from the submission of the first deputy speaker, because I don't think it augurs well for the MPP in the first place. Now, Justice, I also want to admit that, you see, for all these killings, we expected the police to have come out. I do not know whether it has happened at the blind side. The media knows well. We are yet to hear of any statement from the police that, yes, indeed, it was unfortunate we are doing ABCD. I mean, in recent time, you know, the police have reorganized themselves very well, and often than not, there were several press releases to inform the public as to what action they have taken. We've not heard anything. What are they doing? I mean, these are issues which borders to life, and nobody is trying to equalize the issue of death when it comes to elections. When I hear politicians talking about the fact that it has happened before, I sought to be disappointed in them. I mean, I don't understand why we should joke with death. The police have moved on from force to service now. So we expect that they have been equipped enough to have used the best of professionalism to have, executed their work. But here we are in this modern world where we have to shoot to kill. That is unfortunate, but it also calls that there should be that professionalism to train the police as well.
All right.
But please, I want to use this medium to call on the government as well as our security services to possibly institute investigation and, if possible, a probe into the killing, because it happened in Owusu Wagon. There was a probe. There was a committee instituted to probe into the killings. Recommendations were made. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Let's do same for this one. For at least that will go a long way to start the commiseration process. Look, the MP who just spoke have every right to commiserate with those who have died. If he doesn't know, we are telling him that Honorable Joe Wise, you have every right to commiserate. And I do not think that Joe Wise is speaking once again for his party. And it should be regarded as Joe Wise speaking for himself.
Okay.
Now, but not for the president. Because the president's silence, we're even talking about it. Let alone for Joe Wise to come out and say that he doesn't commiserate with. That is for him.
Until his party dissociates itself from that statement, it continues to be, a statement made on behalf of the party.
I don't also think that when he was speaking, he said he was speaking for his party.
Yes.
Well, but then probably it's something he knows. If you say that we won't commiserate with criminals,
No, it could be his independent opinion. I think he's a politician in good standing. He has,
But the word probably he and his constituents. The constituent simply means
he and his wife and children.
Yes.
But we could also be he and his
not the
party.
MPP and the president.
Anyway, Doc, let's wrap up with you on this.
Let's analyze the will linguistically. No, we want us to analyze the will linguistically.
Okay.
In figurative language, we have the plurality of dignity. Plurality of dignity.
Okay.
That is in a situation where one person, a singular speaker, uses plurality to dignify himself.
Stupidity.
Yeah. So there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, let's go on.
I like the rhyming in it. Uses plurality to what? To define his stupidity.
Well, I didn't say that. Anyway, what the honorable man has said is irresponsible, inhuman, unparliamentary, unpatriotic, and unacceptable. In fact, it amounts to what I call glorified verbal vulgarism. And I think that should not be entertained by any parliamentarian.
Okay.
You mentioned Floyd. Floyd was arrested for using a fake card to buy something in a shop. So he was arrested as an alleged criminal. Yet the president, in his wisdom as a human being, knowing the pain of death, had to sympathize with him. For the president to sympathize with other people outside Ghana is not a crime. It is good. But that sympathy must also be extended to the people home. For him to say this, we need to even contextualize the whole issue. We are dealing with democratic elections in which ballots, not bullets, are counted. Ballots are counted, not bullets. The gentleman or the people the gentle people, and those innocent people went to exercise their democratic right of franchise to vote. In the course of that, they lost their lives. And it is unfortunate that we are witnessing this after more than 2 decades of constitutional governance.
How?
Kwame, with all due respect, justice, with all due respect, and with all humility, as I said, I voted in 1992.
Yeah.
Then we were moving from military junta to constitutional order. People didn't die this way. Even when we were moving from what some of us saw as a murderous military regime to constitutional governance, people didn't die this way. It undermines our democratic process that after more than 20 years, you have 8 people losing their lives to elections. That should not be a good story for us. That should not call for any iota of defense. Let me side with Dr. Kwame that the gentleman did not speak on behalf of the president or on behalf of the political party. Okay. But I want to believe that. However, because he is a member of that political tradition, the party has a duty, 1, to distance itself from it. From what, when I say it, from what he said. 2, to call him to order. 3, to advise him. 4, perhaps to report him to the Parliamentary Disciplinary Committee for such an irresponsible utterance. And the families of the departed, in this context, should also consider either calling for simple apology or talking to their lawyers to initiate action against him. Whether it is actionable or not, Kwame is here, and the lawyers will have something to say. But it is unfortunate that a member of parliament has made such irresponsible statements. Just a member, a leading member of the party. It is unfortunate. I want to say that every Ghanaian has a duty to protect the Constitution. And the election was an opportunity for all of us to reaffirm our commitment to the consolidation of constitutional order. And therefore, everybody has the right to police protection. No one was supposed to die. And if you are talking of shooting a criminal, I don't think we are in a jungle. We are in a democratic constitutional order. And this constitutional governance gives you the opportunity to arrest, prosecute, and punish if found guilty, if the people are found guilty. Yes, self-defense, killing in self-defense will be acceptable. But it is not for him to determine that. It is still a court of competent jurisdiction. If you kill in self-defense, I'm not a lawyer, but my primary understanding of law tells me that if you kill unintentionally, you are charged for manslaughter, right?
Exactly.
If you kill intentionally, the charge is murder. Right? So, given the opportunity to explain, I will say that even if those people were criminals, they still had the protection under the law. Since we are not in a banana republic, we are not in a state of anarchy, we are under the banner of democracy.
Okay.
And together, we have the responsibility to protect constitutionalism and the rule of law.
Thank you so much, Doc, for your submission. We are wrapping up, but Kwame would want to make an intervention.
Yeah. I think it's important to also remind ourselves of who Joe Wise is. You recall that somebody said the military and the police should shoot to kill all Galamseyers. You remember?
Yes.
Yeah, he's the one who said that.
Exactly.
And it's becoming notorious. And if we don't do something about it, it will get out of hand. And particularly so when you have leading members you know, in our country's parliament, which leading members are supposed to rather be on the side of the citizens, you know, are rather acting in ways that will only make people lose confidence in the system. It's not. I think it's unwise for Joe Wise to do that. It's unwise for Joe Wise to do that. And you know, I'm also very surprised that he was dead silent when Howard Kumsin was shooting in Kaswa. He didn't speak. He didn't speak to them. He didn't call them criminals. He didn't call for the arrest of Howard Kumsin and all the other members of parliament who were wielding guns and firing at will. You know, I think we should treat ourselves equally and before the law. But finally, let me leave our viewers with this: that the Constitution in Article 3, Clause 2 says any activity of a person or group of persons which suppresses or seeks to suppress the lawful political activity of any other person or any class of persons or persons generally is unlawful.
All right, thank you so much, Kwame, for your submission. I'm so grateful. Doc, thank you. Dr. Mazuk, thank you. Dr. Mauto, thank you. And Kwame, thank you for coming. This is what time will last once again. Make a time with us, same time tomorrow. My name is Justice Apiana, sat in for my brother, Kwame Owusu Danso, who was a panel on the program today. Goodbye.